Hi there, I'm Brett Allen and welcome to this web class or web master class. Today we're going to talk about how to correctly integrate social media into your sales process. Really, we're going to talk about 3 social secrets that will help you as a sales professional be able to use social media more effectively, be able to do what the top performers are doing. And really there's 3 secrets, 3 things I really want to talk about today. You might have read that when you signed up for this. Secret number 1 is why insurance sales producers will lose bigger and bigger every year that they fail to implement social media correctly, and the one thing that can turn everything around for you. It's the first thing we're going to talk about. Then I want to talk about why 97% of social media training fails to meet the needs of experienced insurance sales producers. A lot of stuff for marketers, not a lot of stuff for producers. And how you can find the training that can really help you. And then finally, I know a lot of us think, oh, this is a young man's game. These millennials, they got it all figured out. Well, I'm here to tell you that there is one thing that experienced insurance sales producers can do better on social media than any millennial. We can beat them at their own game, and I'm going to talk about that. So let's jump in to this secret number 1. Okay? Why insurance sales producers will lose bigger and bigger every year that they fail to implement social media correctly, and the one thing that you can do to turn everything around for you. Okay, are you ready? Well, let's start off with, it's always good to start off with a quote, right? Here's John Maxwell. He says, the problem for most people who want to be successful is that they misunderstand success. There are 2 things that are required for success. Number 1, the right picture of success, and number 2, the right principles for getting there. So what I want to talk about here is the right picture of success. We've got to make sure that you've got the right picture of success. When you think about consumers, we have a problem and we will go shopping. We want to solve our problem, right? We have questions. How did we do that? Well, here we got a table with 3 different rows. Pre-computer, right? Back in the days, 50s, 60s, 70s, even barely into the 80s. If we had a question, what did we do? We could look in print, TV, television, could write up for something, have it come back in the mail. And likewise, as a salesperson, these were the main communication methods beyond face-to-face. Of course, I could probably put that one in there, face-to-face, where we help people solve their problems. But as consumers, we're saying, man, where do I go get my answers? And then along came the computers, right? Hopefully you've been on the planet for a while, and so this isn't anything new for you. So the computer came along, right, in the 80s, 90s, and some things changed. The internet emerged. And with the internet came the ability for us to have web pages. And with those web pages, we could go and search for things. So we had this new place to go to get answers to our questions. We started using email. Stores started going online. My example here is Amazon, right? They're probably the most prominent example of this. So the computer really became this place where we go as consumers to get answers to our questions. And once again, as sales producers, we've had to go to wherever our prospects and our clients are, right? We have to go where they are. And so we've had to build websites, and we built, Facebook pages and all these kinds of things, especially this last row where we talk about what's happened in the last 10 years. We're talking about the evolution of mobile, right? Phones. Phones have become huge. And, the web came out, we had home computing, but really that was pretty much static. Your job, especially as an agency, was to build a website that could perform highly in Google search and things like that. Well, the phone comes along and we start using computers differently, right? We take this with us everywhere we go. And this is really what has allowed social media to become so prominent. The fact that we can connect with everyone we care about, or even some of the people we don't care about, see what they're up to. We can get news in a whole different way. And with your phone, right? My phone's got a camera on it. So I can actually use this camera. I can film myself. I can upload it to YouTube. And all of a sudden, what used to only be available to a whole corporate environment with cameras and all this kind of stuff to build a show and share it is something that we can all do now ourselves, right? I just can use my phone and I can share it on social media, and share it on YouTube. It's pretty powerful. In fact, we call this the sharing economy that we're in right now. So this is very interesting. Once again, as a sales producer, we have to start shifting where we go to meet our prospects and clients. Okay, and one of the things that we're talking about here today too is messaging. The last little box got there is messaging. It's huge, and I'll talk about that here in a minute. But look at this data. 92% of Americans who are online shop on Amazon.com. Okay, Where do you go to shop? Where do you go? Maybe you're even just checking out a product to see what other people have said about it. This is amazing that we can go to the internet and we can get all this stuff. Now, it's not amazing. We do it every day. But if you think back 20 years ago, right, before the internet was so huge, before phones were so huge, it's pretty, I think it's just happened and we got used to it. But it's huge. Social media is being used by all the different age demographics. Like, look at this. 82% of people under the age of 50 are using social media. Almost 70% of people under the age of 65. So the entire workforce on our planet, right, especially here in the United States, 70% of us are using social media. So the first thing I really want to talk about here is if we want to be successful with this, we've got to get the right map. And so that's our first secret. Our first secret is, what is the map? If things have changed and the map is now a little different than it used to be, what does it look like and how can we be successful? So I want to explain a little bit more in depth what the current situation is, how it has evolved over the last few years. I want to share with you the old map for success. And I'm not talking pre-online. I'm talking about the old online map for success. If you're in sales and you want to be successful using the internet, this is the old map. The new map, and I would say this is really like the best practices in just the last 5 years of how we're using social media and the web together in a whole new way than we used to. That's really what we're going to talk about. So, the current situation. I've already talked about the phone. The phone is amazing. Smartphones, the web, and social media have completely transformed how we shop for products and services. And this includes insurance. Don't even kid yourself. It's not just for music and books and computers, right? We are going online to get answers to our questions, and our phone is what we use. The average person touches their phone over 2,600 times a day. That's a lot. Heavy phone users, it's over 5,400 times a day. Can you believe that? How often are you using your phone? I think the data shows within every 5 minutes, 5 to 8 minutes, we pick up our phone, whether it's making noise or not. We love our phones. In fact, they've come out with this thing called nomophobia. Nomophobia is a phone separation disorder that causes increased heart rate and blood pressure, shortness of breath, anxiety, nausea, dizziness, depression, fear, and panic, right? These kids are so addicted to their phones that if you take it away from them, they have a panic. I asked my 16-year-old, he's almost 18 now, but 2 years ago I said, okay, what do you want, a smartphone or a car? And his literal answer was, well, how often can I use your car? He wanted the phone. They love it. But don't kid yourself, it is not just the young kids that are suffering from nomophobia. If we don't have access to our phone, or if our phone doesn't have access to the internet, all of us old geezers, right, we're using this stuff too. And I don't say that about the nice man in the picture, I'm talking about myself, right? We have phones and we feel like they are our connection to everything. The average time an adult spends on social media right now is 2 hours per day. If you're under 20, if you're a teenager, and this is pre-COVID data, guys, this is pre-COVID data, the average teenager spends 9 hours, more than 9 hours per day on social media, okay? We are so addicted to this stuff. In fact, I overheard my phone. It was at a phone kind of self-help therapy group, right? And the thing for me every morning is, what do I do? Do I lean over and kiss my wife, or do I pick up my phone and see what's going on, right? And so here I hear my phone saying to the rest of its group, he says he loves her, but he always reaches for me before he ever kisses her good morning. Hashtag confused, right? So our phone, right? Is this our mistress? I don't know. All I know, we touch our phone 24 to 5,400 times a day. And I will tell you, if you want to balance that out and touch your significant other 2,400 to 5,400 times a day, I only tried that once. Actually, I'm smart enough, I would have never tried that. But there is a discrepancy here, right? What matters to you most? Where do you get your news? Thinking about that, where are you getting your news? Here's some data. This is from July of 2020, just a couple months ago. 82% of us go online to get our news. 65 television. Within that 82%, 55 of that is on social media and messengers, right? WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger, things like that. 28% of us are still checking print media, and some of us are listening to the radio. But look at that. We are going online. I don't know if I can say this with enough. We're so used to this that we don't acknowledge that if this is where consumers are going, as a producer, why are we not meeting them there? We have to meet them there. Hootsuite says, we're moving away from trusting institutions, vanity metrics, and mega influencer celebrities, and we're moving towards smaller spheres of influence. this is really interesting, right? What does this mean? Well, let me show you an example. This is my friend Stephanie. This is something she posted on Facebook. She says, I want to get rid of my satellite TV payment. I'm looking at getting the Roku 3 or the new Amazon Fire TV box. Honestly, this is actually about a 5-year-old example. So this is not something that happened yesterday. This has been going on for a while. She's crowdsourcing. She's asking her friends on Facebook, I would like some feedback. And you'll notice here, it's at 10 o'clock at night that she posts this, okay? Well, this is what happens overnight. All of her friends, they chime in. Her friends that are connected from all these different places, right? She lives in Iowa. I live in Seattle. Well, we're connected on Facebook, right? We used to go to college together. That's how we were friends. So look at this. By 8:38 the next morning, she says, thanks everyone, the Roku it is. Now, between 10:11 p.m. at night and 8:38 a.m., she was able to get answers to her questions that help her make a decision. Are we showing up in the places where people are going? Now, I can understand, I can be very empathetic if you're saying, okay, Brett, I know that's what's happening, I want to be there, but I have no idea how to get there. I hope that's what you're saying. I hope you're not saying, I'm still not convinced. Okay, this is where we need to be. Here's an insurance-related example. There's another buddy of mine from college, Sean. He says, I'm looking for an insurance company who will sell a homeowner's policy to someone whose home is currently on fire. Any leads? Asking for a friend. Okay, so whether we're looking for referrals or we're trying to get our questions answered, where do we go? And as sales producers, are we in those right places? Are we there? Are we meeting them there? Are we helping them move through the buyer's journey? Well, in Sean's case, there were 57 comments. And I thought it'd be interesting to read through those. So I started reading through them. And guess what? About 6 or 7 other people had questions about insurance too. And they just started throwing their questions out. You know what? I also have a question. And they were sharing these questions. And this big old thread ensued of all these people asking their questions. And guess what? You know how many people were insurance professionals that actually helped answer any of those questions? Okay? Zero. Can I do that? 0. There was no one. Nobody was there to answer that. So here's this opportunity to be able to get in front of all these people, answer their questions. It naturally comes up the way social media works. If you were Sean's insurance guy, right? There was an opportunity that you missed. So how do we do this? How do we do this effectively? Well, before we get into that, let's also think about, is this just for personal lines? Okay, a lot of you guys are personal lines, some of you guys are commercial. I spent the last several years working for a very large insurance carrier that really focused on commercial. And I would like to say that I am pretty cool. I've been in this space for, well over a decade. I have all this experience, but the truth is I don't. Well, I mean, I have all those things, but that's not what makes me special. I was just lucky enough to be able to be in the places where you guys are. For the last, almost a decade, I have been working with carriers, going out with territory managers, visiting with both agencies and producers, and seeing what works and what doesn't work. And through this process, I've been able to see what the top producers are doing. And that's, guess what? It's happening in commercial. It's not just personal lines. In commercial, we're getting things figured out. Here's an example, right? This is Rick Miller. He says, I gained over 200 new clients last year as a result of our social media efforts. Okay? There are producers that have this figured out. And I've had the chance to be in the front row seat and see what they're doing. And that's what we're here to talk about today is how can you not learn this the hard way? How can you learn this the easy way? One other thing I want to talk about when we're talking about just what's going on here in this situation of the world and how technology is evolving is I want you to take a minute and think about mobile messengers. WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, those are the big ones here in the United States. They are the world's most active form of online social interaction. There are more messages sent on this than there are emails. Okay, of all the time you spend on Facebook, this is where people are at. And it makes perfect sense because as a human, I want to communicate with people who I care about. I don't want to be advertised to. Part of the struggle we have with Facebook and even Instagram is people are just throwing advertisements at us all the way. And so people are actually even moving away from these things. We're not giving them up. We're spending more of our time just connecting with the people we care about. And so these small groups and these messenger apps are making it very easy for us to have the conversations we want to have, to get answers to our questions. And it's actually kind of frustrating to these large advertising stuff because they can't get in there. They're like, man, if you have a conversation with just your buddies, how do I get in front of your face? If you're having this in Facebook and I can throw ads in front of you. So it's really interesting to see how this is evolving, and it's frustrating for marketing, but guess what? It makes perfect sense for sales, because as salespeople, what do we want to do? We want to help people answer their problems, answer their questions. We want to help them solve their problems. And at the end of the day, right, human nature is going to break through, and we're going to say, you know what? Social networking was interesting. I got a Facebook. I connected with all my people I knew from the whole planet. And now because of that connection, something new is happening. And that is within that group, I can actually start connecting and have one-on-one conversations or small group conversations with people that allows me to do what I want to do, which is communicate, get my questions answered. And so as a sales producer, there is a shift that's coming. That's what I'm going to talk about next. Here's the data. Probably getting a little bit ahead of myself here. Interesting data. Look at this. The top 5 lines: Facebook, YouTube, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, and WeChat. Okay, so what do we have here? The top most active user accounts, 3 out of the 5 are messenger apps. This is such a fundamental shift. It's kind of like there was the web with websites, and then we had Web 2.0. Remember back in like 2010, like, oh, the web has gotten smart, and now you can run software on it. And that's when it became a computer programming platform. Well, originally we had social media. I would say we are now well into social media 2.0, where in addition to having social networks, we now, with those connections, are having conversations at scale. And this is something that's very powerful and something that we can tap into as a sales producer. And I'll show you all how that works. So where do we go, or where do consumers go to get answers? If your prospects and your clients are turning to social media to get answers, are you there to help them? And if not, who is? Because whoever's there, they're the ones that are going to be just scooping up all the business. And so if we're saying, you know what, I know this is important, but I don't know how to go about it, you got to figure that out. If you're not convinced you should even be there, well, you're in trouble. Because where people go, that's where they're going to find the help, and that's where they're going to make the decisions. Let's talk about this a little bit more. So we've talked about the current situation. Let's really flesh out this old map. So what has been the best practices? The best practice, right? I talked about how there's social media. Now there's social media 2.0. What was the social media 1.0? What was the first best practice for us when it comes to using social media and the internet for sales as a producer? Okay, here's what it is. I call it the spray and pray method. It's effectively create brand awareness using these tools, shake your dice for a little bit of luck, blow on it, and then see what kind of success comes out of it. Now, I compare it to shooting a shotgun, right? If you've ever shot a shotgun, this is some friends of mine. In fact, my son is the one in the blue shirt, right? We're in my friend's backyard. We're shooting shotguns. One was throwing the pigeon out there, and we have this bullet that has all this little beads of shot in it, right? Little BBs. And it spreads out, and it hits, some of it hits our target. This is kind of what we're doing with social media, right? Here's the instruction, the recipe for success, right? Here's success, social media marketing 1.0. Create accounts. Create a LinkedIn account, create a Facebook account, create an Instagram account, create a Twitter account, create a blog, maybe get on Pinterest, use Snapchat if you're crazy, maybe try to figure out how to use TikTok. Like there's all these different kinds of social platforms. You want to get on all of them. And then you want to connect with everyone you can. Your prospects, your clients, your friends, your acquaintances, maybe even your frenemies. Like you want to get connected with as many people as you can to get the biggest social network possible. And then the main metaphor for this entire approach is content is king. You want to share content. You want to share content all the time. You want to post for top of mind awareness and hopefully capture everyone's attention. It was like, let's make as much noise as possible, and whoever's the noisiest, whoever's the most interesting, the most beautiful, the most funny, like this is the person that wins. They get our attention. But what's happened, right, is there's too much. It's overwhelming. But if you want to do it, here's how you do it. You can, I got some bullets here, carrier content, right? I worked with Fortune 100, Fortune 200 carriers for years, and we all created social sharing tools. We filled the database full of all this stuff, and you just go in there and get it, you share it here, share it there, and you get the opportunity to say, hey, I made some noise. And we were counting our success based on number of likes, number of comments, number of shares, number of pieces of content shared, and this was this method, right, that we were doing. I wasn't above it. I was, in 2012, I was like, this is what we got to do. And then beyond that, you could find your own stuff, right? If you know you write a specific niche, then you go figure out where's there publications that are sharing content in that space, and then you share that stuff, right? And once again, it's kind of like you're shooting your shotgun, like all over the place. Like, we got to hit somebody. Hopefully we'll hit someone. Hopefully when they have the question that It's us. We've made enough noise in their life that they think of us. Now, some agents were really successful. Like my son, going back to this picture, my son can hit 4 out of 5 pigeons. He's really good. If I'm honest, I'm about 1 out of 20. Okay, I stink at shooting a shotgun. If Armageddon, is that the word? The apocalypse comes, something like that, you don't need me on your team, right? Because I'm not going to be helpful to anyone. I'm not good at it. And that's kind of what it's been like for producers and agencies and marketing. Some of you guys just kind of have a talent for it. And you seem to, maybe it's like winning American Idol. You were the lucky one who got there. But some people are successful, some people aren't. Well, here's the thing. Those that were most successful were those who were most vulnerable. So if you're willing to really be open up, right? We love vulnerability. If we say someone who's being vulnerable, we're drawn toward it. We're not going to be that way ourselves. Like, no way, Jose. But those who shared things from their business and from their personal life in an appropriate manner, right? Not creepy personal, but just appropriate personal, allowed us to get to know them, right? You watch the news. If you watch the news every night on television, there's the weather girl, there's a sports guy, right? And there's all these other people there. And every night you see them, and over time you feel like you know them. You're like, oh, I understand their personality. I even feel connected to them, right? I'm like, oh, that weather girl, like, she's a little cray-cray. I don't think I would ever want her to babysit my kids. And the sports guy, you're like, I will barbecue with him anytime, right? We feel like we know them. They don't know us, but we have this we could call it fictive kinship, but really it's more just proximity. We have this connection with them because we see them all the time and we feel comfortable with them. Okay, this is what we were doing in this old map, the spray and pray. And then occasionally what you do is you go in and you ask them for business, right? Now that I've got in front of all of them, from time to time, right, we used to say only 1 out of 20 posts should be business related, and you're going to ask them for their business. You're going to ask them for referrals. It's not the worst thing to do. It's not a bad thing. Some people, like say, really good at it. But there's some issues, right? Number one, it takes a lot of time. Uses a lot of ammo. It's not very efficient. If you're an agency, then you could hire a marketing specialist to do this. It's a full-time job. But here's the problem. If you're a producer, how are you going to do this? You got to sell. And yet somehow you got to eke out your own personal brand. You got to have your own connections. You got to market for yourself with not only the agency across the street, but with the guy sitting across the hall. So it's really hard because we don't have that much time. All the time you take to find content and share all this stuff is taking away from your ability to sell. And it's also something in our mind we've said, social media is for marketing, it's not for selling. The agency can do that. It's not actually informing anything that we're doing, or maybe it is to a degree, right? Maybe you're getting some leads out of it. I think of it as kind of like the pickup artist, right? You're just going out there and you just have more people that you can throw your best pickup line. Remember in college, you go to some lounge or somewhere and you see a cute girl and you're just like, all right, I'm going to try my best line and see what happens. Okay? It's just this on steroids because of social media. Now I can connect with all these people, throw my best line, and odds are some of it will go my way. That's what this example is. This is actually a recent connection from a guy who says he's in marketing. It cracks me up. He says, I did cut out his last name. He says, I'm looking to connect with persons and organizations that will benefit from digital marketing efficacy. For almost 30 years, I increased value and ROI while maintaining, even though he spelled that wrong, budgets. Audit, strategy, coaching with deep experience in Asia. Okay? So this guy says, I've got an avatar or an ideal client characteristics, right? And it turns out you fit that. So I'm going to reach out to you and say, hey, you fit what I'm shopping for or what I'm trying to pick up. And this is a LinkedIn request. He sent me this on LinkedIn, and I thought, you know what? That's interesting. I'll connect with them. So what does he do next? He sends me this big old ad. He just starts talking at me. Here's all my stuff. How well do you think this went, right? This was a pickup line that did not go very well, right? I haven't unfriended him, probably because I'm lazy and doesn't hurt. But at the same time, it's a complete waste of time, right? He, in his mind, is like, oh, I got one more connection, but I don't think it's very effective. And this is kind of the output of a lot of what we do when it comes to this old plan. Here's another example. This is Simone. I probably should have cropped out her last name. She reached out to me recently. She says, I like this a little bit more. She says, hey, Brett, would love to connect. I had a question I wanted to run by you. Okay, so here I am like, oh, someone wants to talk to me. I'm this, we all think of ourselves as the protagonist in our own adventure. So someone's coming to ask me for my insights. Of course, I'm excited. Like, oh yeah, okay. And I also know she's from Texas. I was born in Texas. So I responded to her connection request and I said something like, hey, fellow Texan. Or I think I said howdy. Howdy, fellow Texan. Said, happy to connect with you. What's your question? Okay. And guess what happened? Nothing. She's never responded ever. Oh, it just cracks me up. So there's a lot of things we could be doing better. The old map isn't horrible, but guess what? There is a better way, especially for producers. Okay? You don't have to waste so much ammo, spend all your day shooting around, hoping to hit something. The new map. Well, what does the new map look like? You're gonna find this is a little bit different than maybe what you were expecting, but this is what the top producers are doing, and it's serving your people. Use social media to serve your people. Does that just sound like, hey, Mr. Rocket Science, like Captain Obvious? Duh. Social media is a communication platform that allows us to scale or increase the number of people in which we can communicate with. Not throw advertising at, not try to round up in a social network and then harass, but actually pinpoint the kinds of people that we want to talk to and start engaging them. And this is why salespeople are so lucky right now, because we have this huge opportunity that's right in front of us because of how social media is evolving. So the underlying strategy here is you need to provide 0 moments of truth at scale, and that's what provides success. As I've done countless consults with both successful and young and old, all these different insurance producers, those who are succeeding in sales are doing exactly this. They're connecting and they're serving their people. And I'm going to show you what I mean by this. So what's the recipe look like? Oh, let's first take a step back. Let's talk about the moment of truth. When I say 0 to moment of truth, right? I say right here, you need to provide 0 moments of truth at scale. Okay, what am I talking about? Well, many of you have heard that term before, the moment of truth. In the consumer, when we have a question and we want to get that question answered, I need a new car. Whatever it might be. There's going to be some sort of stimulus, right? Something happened and we were like, I'm done with this, right? Maybe our buddy's business just had a cyber breach and you're like, oh man, maybe I need cyber liability. Or you went to a Robert Kiyosaki convention and now you own 10 houses and you're like, I could use an umbrella policy. Like whatever these things are, you are in a situation where you have questions. You have a stimulus. You have this buyer's journey. And there are these points where we have these aha moments, these epiphanies, and we call them moments of truth. And so in the car situation, right, I remember my father-in-law, when the Mustangs came out, when they kind of rebuilt them to look a little bit like the older ones, this is a few years ago, he went and drove it and he was like, man, I was so excited till I sat in it and drove it and I was so disappointed. Like that was a negative moment of truth. So what happened was in about 2011, Google published a book. It was an ebook. You can still probably dig it up. It was called Winning the ZMOT, or Winning the 0 Moment of Truth. And it basically said, everyone now comes to us first. If I have a question, before I pick up the phone, before I walk into your office, I am going to actually go to my phone, and now we're using the phone. Maybe in 2011 we were still using our laptops, but now we're using our mobile devices and our laptops. Do we still have desktops? I guess in the office, maybe some of us do. Anyways, the 0 moment of truth. They're saying people are doing searches. They're watching videos. They're looking at reviews. They're asking their friends on social networks, just like I showed you those examples of earlier with Stephanie and with Sean. Okay? So here's the recipe. This is the recipe for success. I know sometimes these master classes, they're like all this bait and switch and we're not really going to teach you anything. Well, this is the strategy. I'm going to give it to you right now. Number 1, there's actually a bullet here that I probably should have put above the first bullet. And the first bullet is you need to understand why people like you. Why do your best customers choose you? Like what is it that you bring to the table that's different beyond you have great products, you provide good customer service? What's your unique selling proposition? I call it your superpower. If you understand your superpower and why people are attracted to you, why they want to work with you, then our first goal is we have to make sure when people are checking us out on the web that that is transparent, that they see that they understand what it is that we bring to the table. Second, we're not just shooting our gun at anyone. Okay, this is more like a sniper rifle. What we're going to do is I know that's a pretty rough metaphor, but what we're going to do is maybe we'll use cameras, right? We're going to use a camera. We're not using a wide angle lens, right? That's a little softer. We're going to use a telephoto lens, right? We're going to zoom in on exactly who we want. So you need to understand who your ideal client is. Guess what? Most of us don't know. We're just trying to figure this stuff out. If you think about your business, who are your favorite top 5 or 10 clients? If you could reverse engineer what makes them the way they are, and then you could understand those characteristics, you can go out on the web and you can find more people like that. And if you can get the cross between the people who have the needs that you provide that you really want to get and those that actually want to work with you, all of a sudden you are in business, baby. And what we're going to do is we're going to use social media as a communication tool to reach out to them, to engage them, not to advertise at them, but to build a relationship with them. In fact, the key metaphor here in this approach is engagement is king. Okay, our goal here is not to throw out as much content as we can. Our goal here is to engage. We're just going to do it at scale. And by engaging, what I mean is we're going to facilitate these 0 moments of truth in the lives of those who are our ideal client. That's the goal. That's the objective of this serving your people, right? Who are the people out there that you really can help? And you help them. And you share this, and you're using social media to do it. You're not waiting for them to come to your office and have an appointment to sit down and start sharing your magic sauce. Okay? We're going to reach out and we're going to find them and we're going to do this online. Remember I gave you a couple of those bad examples of LinkedIn connection requests? Well, I wanted to just kind of offset that a little bit and share with you what I think is a good example. And it's me. I reached out to this guy named David. So what happened was I've been with the large carriers for years. Everyone could ask me like, Brad, we need more. And I was like, you know what? I got a really nice job and it's got a lot of benefits. Well, finally I decided, you know what? Let me just jump in and give you guys what you've been looking for. I mean, that's what this whole Boss Social thing is about giving you guys a deeper level at this stuff. Well, in doing that, I quit my job and I started this business and I created this online education portal and this consulting business. Well, in doing this, I needed to get a little bit better at keynote speaking and a little bit better at some of these things with corporate, speaking and things like that to be able to get in front of you guys. So I saw David and I thought, you know what? I saw something come up on LinkedIn and David was doing a new show because of COVID. Just like me, this year was going to be great. 2020, I quit my job. 2019, 2020, I had all these speaking gigs lined up. I was going to come and speak and have a booth and be able to provide consulting and help producers do well. Well, what happened, right? COVID hit and we all got locked into our rooms. So this is what happened to David as well. All of his speaking appointments and all this stuff got canceled. He created this online show and I thought, that's kind of interesting. So what happened was I thought I should connect with him. And what you're going to see here, and you may have already read it while I've been talking, but in this situation, I'm very personal. I'm not selling myself. I'm engaging him. So watch this. I don't even use full sentences, right? It's very, very comfortable language. So I say, hope to connect and watch your new show. Looking forward to your new show. Been a long while since we were at that Bob Cialdini training so many years ago, and just realized that we're not connected in LinkedIn. Okay, and I even have some typos in there, right? Grammatical errors. It's okay. What did I do? I brought up something we had in common, and I reached out to have this is sales, right? This is not marketing. This isn't like, I've got a brochure you can have, give me your email. This is like, hey buddy, what's going on? He responds, okay? Wow, that was a while ago. I still use that material every day. Thanks for connecting. Great to have you in my network. You can check out my new LinkedIn live show here. Here's a link. We're all the protagonists in our own lives, right? He's the protagonist in his life, right? Hey, thanks. He says, great to have you in my network, right? I love it. I'm now one of his groupies, right? That's the way he sees it. So I give him a thumbs up, and there's some psychological compliance tactics behind what I did there. But basically, in short, and I teach this in my training, is I don't have communication with people on social media without giving it proper thought. And when I saw that, I didn't have time to really respond to it, but I wanted to give a quick response. I knew later in the day I could sit down and really write out a better post. So I just gave him a quick thumbs up, but then I didn't even have to write the follow-up post because then, a minute later, guess what he did? He asked me a question. He said, how are things? And this started a dialogue. This started a discussion. I'm not advertising at him. I'm communicating with someone. And guess what? I didn't have to go to his house. I didn't have to fly to Ireland where he lives. Okay, this is all happening. We can do it on our phone. We can scale this. We don't have time to do it for everyone, but we understand who we want to connect with. We can do this, and it's very powerful. So when it comes to this new map of serving your people, what I want to invite you to do is think about engagement instead of advertising. Think about how you can scale relationship building online using social technology. And I want you to focus on your ideal clients. And if we do that, all of a sudden social media is very applicable to us in the sales space. Okay. So Summary of our secret number one. Why should insurance sales producers, or why will producers lose bigger and bigger every year that they fail to implement social media correctly? And what is the one thing that can turn everything around for you? Okay? Well, here's our answers, right? We've kind of already talked about this. But number one is you want to avoid losing. You got to be there. So, your prospects and clients are turning to social media and the web more and more every year to find answers to their problems. You must meet them where they are. So your goal of social media is to figure out how to engage. So throw out, right? If there's one thing you took away from this whole first segment is you need to get rid of your spray and pray strategy, and you need to focus on how do you build a serve your tribe strategy. Okay, that's your big takeaway. I mentioned a little bit about this training program I built. So it's called the Boss Social Selling System, and it's a complete immersive training program to help producers use social media for engagement. It's all these things we've talked about. This is kind of my little write-up here that I have on my website. It says, after nearly a decade of helping insurance professionals across the United States for carriers, I discovered no one was truly helping insurance producers integrate social media into their sales process. That's why that's in gold, right? We're not talking about social marketing for the agency. I mean, that's important, but a lot of people got that covered. The gap, the hole, the thing that people were crying to me the most was, Brett, my producers don't know how to sell. They don't know. Well, I mean, they know how to sell traditionally, but they don't know how to use this stuff for selling. How do they do that? I don't want a marketing class. I want a sales class. And so that's what this is all about. A testimonial here from a friend of mine. This is Dale Steinke. Many of you may know him. He's fantastic. He's with Liberty Mutual. I worked with him when we built the Bricks and Clicks program back at Safeco and Liberty Mutual. And I just want you to pay attention to the part that here in the gold. It says, Brett is a constant learner and probably the most intensely curious person I've ever met. So he's talking about me. He takes this newfound knowledge to continually improve what he delivers and build upon his expertise as an online marketing authority. He'll take you beyond what works to help you understand the science and psychology behind why various marketing, and I would add sales tactics, succeed. Okay, I just have to understand this stuff. It's kind of like some people are into Jeeps and some people are into football. You know, I'm into understanding psychological compliance and why is it with social media and sales, like how does this all work? And the whole program that we've built is really about putting those best practices together and articulate it in a way that is quick to learn, easy to implement, that it respects that you're in sales, doesn't ask you to be a millennial, doesn't ask you to be a marketer. It says, look, I know you're in sales and here's the 20% of effort that's going to get you the 80% of the way. You're right. We're getting out the big berthas, right? And we're going to hit that ball as far as we can with the least amount of effort. That's what this is all about. So secret number one, cover that. Let's talk about secret number two. Why 97% of social media training fails to meet the needs of experienced insurance sales producers and how to find the 3% that can truly help you. Okay, that's what we really want to focus on. Say it right here. I'll read it one more time. Why is 97% of social media training completely fail the experienced insurance sales producer? And if there is training out there that can help you, how can you find it? Okay, that's what we're going to talk about. Here's Einstein. I like Einstein. He says, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. Okay, part of the problem is the people explaining it aren't doing that good of a job. I've noticed that's part of it. But the other part about it is we're just seeking guidance from the wrong person. And so the secret that we have for number two is you need to get the right guidance. Okay, you don't want someone teaching the old map. You need someone teaching you the new map. Okay, and there's a few things that we need to think about. When it comes to getting the right guidance, there are 3 bullet points that I want to talk about. Number one, is the training that you're getting marketing training or is it sales training? Number two, do they speak your native language? And I'll explain that in a minute. And number 3, do they share your work culture? Right? Are they teaching you how to use this stuff that fits in with your sales modality? Or are they trying to get you to throw out everything the way you did and do it completely different? Okay, these are key things that we have to figure out. So let's talk about each of them. When it comes to marketing versus sales, okay, social marketing is creating interest in your business using social networks and social applications. Social selling, on the other hand, is using social media to generate new leads and establish client loyalty. So I would think most training actually is hitting social marketing, but it stops there. It's kind of like you're pulling your arrow back or your gun and you're shooting at a target, but you really want the target that's behind it, right? We don't just want to brand and make top of mind awareness. We want to actually go on beyond that to be able to generate leads and with our existing clients create loyalty. We want people who love us. We We want people to refer us. Whenever insurance comes up, they're going to be like, oh my gosh, you do not go know my gal or my guy, right? That's what we're trying to do. So in a nutshell, I would say social marketing, branding, awareness, reputation, social selling, leads, referrals, sales. There's probably more cross with this, but what we want to do is we want to make sure that you're finding training that's focused on how to use social media for selling. And here's the problem. There are really 4 segments that I've seen that are hit pretty hard when it comes to using social media. One is, as an agency, especially the big carriers, right? How do we create employee advocacy? How do we do marketing and branding as an agency, right? And this fits into the producer space a little bit. But when it comes to sales training, right? I mean, every single time when I worked for carriers and I'm teaching sales producers how to use selling, guess where I lived? I lived in the marketing department because these big organizations don't recognize that, no, I need to be in the sales department. You can use social media. They just think social media, that's marketing. Okay, there's just this misunderstanding. I mean, yes, it is there. It's kind of like, hey, this gun can shoot both ways, right? I mean, as far as we gotta be able to use social for selling. And I think we're going to see more of that. Right now, though, there's just nothing out there. So when it comes to how do we use social media for selling, how to use it for client retention, this is what you're shopping for. So if you're thinking, man, this guy Brett, I wonder, some of what he's saying is making sense. I need to go find someone to help me with this stuff. Okay, ask them, is this a marketing program or a sales training program? And what map are you using? Okay, so is it marketing or sales? Second thing we need to think about is, do they speak your native language? Now, you're going to say, Brett, I don't know what you're talking about here. I like this metaphor I heard in about 2009 from PBS. They said there are really 2 kinds of people in the world. There are digital immigrants and there are digital natives. And so an immigrant means, right, if I'm an immigrant to France, I'm not from there, if I'm a native of France, right, this makes sense in topography, like, there's France, those people grew up there, they're natives, I'm coming and moving there and I'm an immigrant, right, or they're coming to America, whatever the thing might be. Well, this applies to using technology. So when it comes to social media and technology, all that kind of stuff, I think they say technology, the definition of technology is anything that comes along about 15 years after you were born. So whatever you grew up with, like I grew up in the 70s and the 80s, so cassette tapes, right? I even had a record player. My dad had a reel-to-reel, right? My wife's dad, I remember he's telling me about the first time I got a transistor radio. Like that's what he grew up with, right? Now he's having to adopt to all this new stuff. Well, when it comes to using this stuff, most of us feel like immigrants. We're just like, man, have you ever gone to a different country? You don't know the language, you don't know the culture. It can feel really kind of anxiety producing. And especially if you go to France, right? The people there roll their eyes at you. Just like our kids are rolling their eyes at us. Like, geez, I can't believe you don't understand how to do this stuff, right? I'm like, I'm nervous about TikTok. Right? China's getting all our data. Oh, Dad, don't worry about that. So there are these different kinds of people. We're learning how to use this stuff. It's where they're from. So this is an interesting thing. When you think about this conception of digital immigrant versus digital native, if I ask a digital immigrant, right, anyone over 40, especially anyone over 50, I say, explain to me a millennial or digital native. And this is what they picture, these young kids, like, oh yeah, these 3rd graders using, iPads at school. And likewise, I think there's a misconception the other way because they're honestly a lot older than that. The other direction is, you ask a kids, right, what's a digital immigrant, right? And they're picturing like your grandpa that's in a rest home that can't even, button up his own shirt. We're both missing this, I think, both sides of it. I think we need to be a little more honest with each other and recognize that you're over 40, maybe even 35, especially 45, okay? You're squarely a digital immigrant. You're a digital immigrant to this technology, the technology of social media and messengers and all that kind of stuff. Digital natives are well out of college now, right? You're employing them, okay? Many of you guys are natives that are listening to this, right? And so it is true, I'm probably leaning a little bit more towards the digital immigrant here in my approach, primarily because I think the average insurance agent is about 60. But there's no matter what side you fall on, there's some things you can learn here to help you be more successful. So the biggest thing here is the 3rd bullet on each side. The digital immigrant, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, do not feel natural and they create anxiety. Okay, it's like all of a sudden I'm in France and I got to speak this different language. I got to do these different things. I'm not comfortable with it. Where a digital native, it feels natural and they are just how we communicate. Okay? So that's how you can kind of tell which side of this you're on. My joke is, well, we have all these differences. We all want to be the same person, right? The ultimate digital immigrant, right? Jeff Bezos. I've lived in Seattle for a long time, so maybe I'm a little centric on that. But when you think about going to a new place, going to a new country. You're going to check it out. I remember there's a picture of me and my wife. This is about 2005, 2006. We went to Europe. We went to Italy and France and then England and had a couple weeks over there and just really had a great time. And we had a guide with us. And what I liked about the guide is even when we had the same guide for the whole trip. And she really knew these places well. And here's a picture of us in France, right? English was her native language. She was actually from England. And I understood what she was saying. She understood me. Can you imagine going to a tour? Like, hey, we're in France. Let's go to a tour. So you go to a tour to go visit these places and have this experience. You show up and the tour guide doesn't speak English. Okay? And it's in French. So you don't understand them. They don't understand you. A lot of disconnect. They're also not very patient with you. Here's what I love about our guide. She was so patient. She acknowledged that the culture and the language is foreign to us, and she was patient with us. When it comes to understanding stuff, not only do you need to find a trainer that understands sales, you need to find a trainer that isn't going to be browbeating you because you don't understand how to use all this stuff, right? I almost don't want to bring this up, but I think it's just such a classic example. Several years ago, I was doing training, and I had with me a junior trainer in late 20s. And I remember they just said to me, we were teaching this class, and these were like really, really successful, some of the top successful insurance agencies and producers. And they said to me, they're like, these guys are idiots. I was like, what are you talking about? And then they went on to explain all this technological stuff. They just didn't understand it. And it was like, screw you. I don't get this stuff. You don't get this stuff, so I'm not going to waste my time. And I was like, are you kidding me? These guys are making like $400,000 to $600,000 a year. These are amazing people. They have really got this stuff figured out. So I'm doing a lot better than that. Our success isn't, we can't judge our success by the technology that we're using, right? So anyways, I would just say when it comes to training, you got to find someone who will be patient with you and really can empathize where you're at, or it's just really frustrating. And this goes on to one more point here, which I want to talk about, which is your work culture or your sales modality. So what am I talking about here? The truth is, I know PBS came up with Immigrant and Native, but I've expanded that. Over the years, I've thought, you know what? The truth is there are more than that. When it comes to technology, there's really foreigners, tourists, immigrants, and natives. Foreigners are those of us who say, yeah, I know that technology exists, and I don't want to have anything to do with it, right? I know France is over there, but I'm not going to France. I'm staying here in America. I like America, okay? I like the way I do my things. When it comes to my business and sales, I don't want to change, okay? I don't have to, or I'm hoping I don't have to. Sadly, we've woke up, and it's like, oh man, we're in downtown Paris now. Technology's just like emerged around us. Like somehow this happened overnight. So we don't have that choice, but a lot of us are still in that foreign, they're like, I am not going to live like these people. I'm not going to use this stuff. I'm just going to, I remember I used to get this in workshops. There'd be always a guy, he'd be in the back, his arms were folded, and he was just there to convince himself that he could ignore this, right? And my whole goal was to get him to like open up and be like, okay, I don't know what to do yet, but now I get it. I'm on fire. I'm excited. Okay? There's the foreigners. The tourist is someone who wants to check it out, but they don't want to completely immigrate, right? And I'm a tourist. Like when my wife and I, we went to France, it was cool. I didn't want to learn French. I didn't want to live like them, but I wanted to see what they had to offer, and I picked up some really valuable skills. And with a lot of us with social media, this is where we're at. We don't want to act like a millennial, but we need to understand how to do it well enough that we can have success with it. And the immigrant would be effectively, right, becoming a millennial, right? So when you think about this, it reminds me of a story or an experience I had. This is my son. When he was 18, a senior in high school, I told him, for your spring break, I will take you anywhere on the planet. Anywhere you want to go, we'll go. And he said, Dad, I want to go to France. And then I made him go to England too. But he had studied French for years, 3 years of French. He didn't just understand it, he spoke it so well. He has a gift, he really does. And when we went over there, two things happened. Number one, since I already been there, we didn't need to get a guide, and he spoke French, so we figured we could just make it work. And we would be out places, and he'd be talking to people, and then I would open my mouth and be like, oh, are you guys Americans? Like, he was really that good. He was immigrating, and he wanted to experience France in a whole different way than I did. I just wanted to go to the museums and get some gelato. Well, I guess that's Italy, but we did get some good ice cream there. And, you can see, you can't tell us, but I actually have lost some weight since then. Anyways, my son had a whole different goal. And I bring this up to say that this is the way it is with us with social media. Most of the training out there says you need to be like my son. You need to just live and breathe this stuff the way we millennials do. I would say most training is for millennials by millennials. It doesn't account for the fact that, you know what? You have your own sales modality. When you think about sales modality, you think, what are you talking about? Well, For those of us that are on the tourist side instead of the immigrant side, we need to utilize technology within our existing work culture. I have a sales process. There's a way that I do things. Okay? It involves speaking with people face to face, picking up the phone, meeting them at their office, having them come to mine, right? There are these things that we do. And the immigrant, these millennials, they're like, I want to hide behind my phone. I never want to talk to someone in real life. Like, they're going to teach you stuff that allows you to stay within their method of communication. And so you've got to find training that appreciates your sales modality and your work culture and allows you to use the social technology to amplify it. That's your goal. And what I find, unfortunately, is most of the training out there, especially sales training, it just says, okay, here's how to build this thing on the web. You never have to interact with these people, and it's trying to kind of widgetize everything. It's just not very effective. And you can probably pause the video and watch this, read this if you want. But this is just a table I put up with some data that I found that was kind of comparing the digital immigrants to the digital natives. So, for example, when I talk about a trainer that appreciates your sales modality or your work culture, when it comes to meetings and communication, those of us who are over 40, right, face-to-face and email, that's kind of what we like to do. Digital natives, I don't need to see you face-to-face. A webinar is good enough. We can use instant messaging and maybe email if we have to. Very different. So if you're going to come up with a sales approach that has to fit within these different perspectives, see how that can be a problem? Collaboration. I don't even want to talk about it. Let's just go to the last one because it just cracks me up. This makes me laugh so much because I've seen it so much in the corporate setting. Advancement, this is why I have my own business, because I can say stuff. When you work for the big corporation, I couldn't be this honest, right? I do have some opinions. If you know me, you'll see they come out sometime. But advancement and recognition, most of us, who are my age and older, think that should be based on time and your accomplishments, right? We get plaques, titles, corner offices, bonuses. The millennials, and this is not my data, this is the data that's out there, and this is a quote from it. They expect rapid advancement based on their perceived ability. Oh, it just makes me laugh so much. They're just such cute little kids. They want rewards to support a work-life balance. They want flexible hours, performance bonuses, career development programs, right? They need help every step of the way, right? I don't want to get into what we've done right or wrong in America over the last 20 years, but the thing is these are the people that know how to use this technology, and they're the ones being hired to create this training, and a lot of them are scared to death to talk to people. And you need to find a real salesperson who knows how to use this stuff if you really want to do this well. All right. So obviously, kind of kick this horse a few times. So find training that's made for your work culture that's going to help you say, I don't want to use social media and LinkedIn the way a 30-year-old or a 25-year-old would do it. I want to know what's the best way for me to leverage it if I'm 50. And basically, I'd rather be golfing and not even using LinkedIn, right? There's a way we can do that. And that's one of the things that we really focus on. So the summary for our second section here, why 97% of social media training fails to meet the needs of experienced insurance sales producers, the digital immigrants, is a couple of things, right? Number one, you got to find training and you got to find a trainer that's going to help you focus on selling and not just online marketing. That's going to appreciate that you're an immigrant and this is new terms for you, right? If I say, hey, you got to hook up our RSS feed, okay, and you're like, I don't even know what you're talking about, okay, we got to make sure that you find someone that's going to be patient with you, appreciates that a lot of this is new, isn't rolling their eyes at you, and then it needs to have a framework that's going to support the way you do sales, okay? You're probably thinking, yeah, Brett, this makes perfect sense. It does make sense, okay? All right, throw in a testimonial here for good measure. I'll take a breath before we go into this last section. You can read this, I can read it. Chris Hawthorne, RVP at Cleary Insurance in Boston, said of a class that I taught him, Brett Allen's class was one of the most informative classes I've taken. I had no idea what was at my disposal for all these years. Not only that, the class was fun. If you ever get the opportunity to go to a Brett Allen class, jump at it, okay? So normally, pre-COVID, I would say, hey, you know what? Hire me. Let me come and teach your people. Now, what we've done is we've created this whole online training program that you can do while you're stuck because of COVID. In fact, I've created a business that's called Boss Social. That's really the initiative that I've created, Boss Social. And it provides a way for me to share this content with you guys really effective. So I've been here, I've been there, 45 states, over 10,000 salespeople that I've worked with in the last decade. I've got some stuff that I think can help. Well, it does. It helps most producers, and we've packaged this into this really cool selling system. One final testimonial. This is Nick Andrews. He's out of DC, works for Liberty Mutual. He and I worked on the Bricks and Clicks project years ago and have continued to stay in touch. It's fantastic, and what they're doing is fantastic. My only issue with the carriers when it comes to this stuff, and I'll just be really honest about it, is their job is to be a carrier and not a sales capability training program. And so while this gave me an opportunity to see what you guys are doing, we only could really ever hit the tip of the iceberg with that stuff. And the whole reason I left to do this stuff was I just knew that they're like an aircraft carrier. You know, they're so big, moving parts, competing interests and things like that. To be nimble and to really be innovative and share with you guys what we have to share was really why I literally did. I just quit my job and started this consulting education business. Anyways, Nick says, Brett served as our lead social media and website optimization consultant. Throughout countless consultations, Brett has done an excellent job guiding our agents to improve their website and social media presence. So thanks, Nick. And keep an eye on them. They're continuing to do awesome things. All right. Final thing that we want to talk about here. The number one thing the experienced insurance sales producer can do better on social media than any millennial. Now, I have this in here for a very specific reason. And that is, many of us feel like doing this stuff is a young man's game or a young woman's game, right? These young kids, these millennials, they're the ones that there's no way we can compete. There's no way we can use their technology better than they can. But I want to share with you that there is one thing that as an experienced digital immigrant, right, someone who has had some experience, you can do better than them. You ready to see what that is? Boy, we've been going for a while. You guys are so patient if you're still on the call, if you haven't stopped it and taken a nap and now you're on the second day of watching this. Here we go. Okay. Oh yeah, I threw this quote in here. I like this quote. Again, back to Albert Einstein. Everyone is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing it is stupid. Okay? And ask a squirrel to swim, right? Either way, it goes both ways. I bring this up because it really ties into this whole section on what is the one thing you can do better than a millennial. Most of the people that I have worked with, the producers specifically, who are digital immigrants, right? Over 40, over 50, over 60, we feel stupid when it comes to this stuff. And it's so inappropriate, right? If I go to London, I can go to London. If I go to England, sorry, if I go to France, right? Maybe we're talking about immigration. If I go to France, I don't understand the language. Do you say to yourself, man, I'm such a moron, I'm such an idiot, I'm so stupid, I can't believe I don't know how to speak this language? We don't. It's not expected of us. It's new. But for some reason, with all this technological stuff, we make this assumption that we're supposed to just magically understand how it all works. It's not. It's literally like learning. It's like learning anything that's new. It takes time, and I don't want to learn French, right? So at some point, I need to learn enough phraseology to get around. Okay, so what is the one thing that you can do? Well, I really like how Ryan Kahn says this. He says, master your strengths, outsource your weaknesses. Okay, and what is your strengths? Your strengths, and here's our big secret number 3, you need to be the salesperson you already are. You already have what it takes to be successful. It's just a new communication tool. Social media is just a new way in which we're communicating with people, but you know how to communicate. Okay, this is what you really can do that these young, inexperienced people can't. It reminds me of this story, kind of an apocryphal story from the life of Picasso. Maybe you've heard this before. A woman ran across Picasso in a restaurant, and she asked for a napkin on which he had been drawing on, doodling. Picasso said, sure, that's fine, and it will cost you 40,000 francs. And of course, now they're on the euro. I don't even know how much that was at, but at the time it was a lot of money. And she's like, well, what are you talking about? It only took you 10 minutes. And he said, Madame, it took me 40 years. And this is such a key concept. Think about your life in insurance, okay, or your life on the planet. You aren't afraid to meet and talk with people. You're not hiding behind a screen texting when you should be talking. You're not even picking up the phone when you should be, or sending emails, right? You're picking up the phone. You're having real-time conversations with people. You're great at building rapport with even strangers. When it comes to your work, you understand the buyer's journey. You understand what they're up against. You're like, oh, I know exactly what questions they're going to ask. You have experience in the industry and you have significant life experience. And all of these things are huge because social media provides a way for you to amplify who you are and what you're about when you use it correctly. So let's talk about how do you do that. Well, our goal, right, map number 2, the new model, is you need to win or facilitate the ideal client's 0 moments of truth. So how do you, when people are on the web and they're figuring this stuff, how do you do that? That's kind of the magic behind what we do in this program. But I'll lay it out for you. What does a prospect want? A prospect wants answers to their questions. They need a path to success, right? There's a buyer's journey. How do I get from here to there? I don't have cyber. I need cyber liability. How do I get from here to there? What do I need to know? What's that path look like? And can you please hold my hand along this process because I've never done it before and it's a little scary, right? Anytime we do anything new, it's a little scary. So they need these things. And people on the internet, they can't do this. I mean, some things, I can buy a TV on my own, but to insure my business, are you kidding me? Would I ever want to do that without having a trusted partner or guide there to help me? And that's what you are. We just have to learn how to use the social media to facilitate this. And let me explain how this works. When you share your answers, when you share the shortcuts and the path, when you share experiences with them, they're going to be able to see you as a trusted guide. They're going to get the answers they want. But you know what? The people who have all the answers aren't the ones that are sharing this stuff right now. Okay? Because we're a little intimidated with the space. Well, actually, those producers that are crushing it. So when you think about this, we have different strengths and weaknesses. And I'm not really dissing on the millennial. They're going to get there. In fact, we're in trouble pretty soon because they're learning to sell. They're learning to overcome their fear, right? You have them, right? At first, they were just like, how do I do this on the web? And now they're like, let me at them, okay? And as they gain that experience and they have the ability to use this technology, holy cow, in the next 5 to 10 years, I mean, you might be behind now. You are really going to be behind. So what are things that they're good at, right? Green means you're good. Well, let's talk about the digital immigrants, right? Yes, this red area, right? We feel like a foreigner to social technology. It feels like a second language learning all this technology. How do we learn it? We want to hire it out. We want to use a guide, right? The millennials are like, I can do it myself, okay? They have a higher content. This is interesting. I think the digital natives are a little bit too comfortable. We're maybe a little too anxious. But look at this last section. Sales capability, product knowledge, building face-to-face relationships. You are so good at that, okay? So we need to leverage that. So this is how it works. We share who we are on the web in an effective way. Now you might say, and this is I put this slide up here because this is a question I get all the time, which is, Brett, hold on. When I meet with people and I sit down with them, that's when I share all my magic. That's when I answer their questions. You're telling me that I should create articles or shoot videos, put that out on the web so they can see that before they ever even meet with me? Yes or no, okay? Let's talk about this because this is a real struggle that many of us have. And if you can get your head around this, then you can win, okay? So this is a traditional buyer's journey. What we have here is steps, right? Steps moving forward. This guy here, he's like, oh, I got a problem. And out there is the solution, right? If he can meet with you, you're the guru, right? You're like, I can answer your questions. I've been where you want to go. I know how to take care of you. I'm Yoda. You're Luke Skywalker, right? So what we have at the bottom here is MOTs, and that stands for moments of truth. So during the buying process, there are going to be these moments of truth. Boom, 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 boom. That's what it used to look like. It has changed. Remember I talked about the ZMOT, the 0 moment of truth? Well, this is what the buyer's journey looks like now. Now what happens is when they discover they have a problem, they turn to their devices. And in these devices, we start getting answers to our questions. And we might even, you can see it's like moment of truth 3, moment of truth 2, moment of truth 4. Like they may not even be getting them in the right order from what you think they should. But they're digging around, whatever their problems are, and they're getting answers to their questions. Holy cow. They're still going to meet you at the first meeting. So what do? If you can, this is the key slide right here. When you share content in the form of an article or video, and you start joining in these conversations online, you have the opportunity to build what I call an absent presence. You can create an absent presence, just like that news broadcaster or the weather girl, like they feel like they know us. And the producers that are winning at this game, it is about top of mind, but they're doing it in a strategic, they're not just shooting their shotgun all over the place. They are saying, who's my ideal client? What is the problems that they have? Let me create content that when they see it is going to answer their question, it's going to lead them to me as a guide, and it's going to help them find the path. And when you do that, they start building that relationship with you. So what happens is, we do a little research, and then all of a sudden you're like, look, I've checked all this stuff for the last 3 weeks. We got to make a decision. And what are they going to do? They're going to choose whomever they have the strongest connection with. And using social media, you can create that connection with them. There's a process for doing this. There's a strategy, and we can show you how to do it. So, should I share my best insights online? I would say yes, but you're not going to share all of them. You're going to share the ones that are appropriate to get them to meet with you. So what are the questions they have that you can answer that will get them to meet with you? What does that buyer's journey look like? What are those answers? Whether it's video, whether it's text, whatever you're doing there, you can create that stuff. But you also need to couple it in such a way that it very clearly shows you as the guide, the one they can rely on that helps them get through the entire process. And if you do that, then all of a sudden things get pretty exciting. So, final thing we have to say here is the number one thing that an experienced insurance sales producer can do better on social media than any millennial is sell. Okay? So that's what our goal is. Now I told you, right, I decided no one was helping insurance producers. I probably should say in this third line it says I discovered no one was truly helping experienced insurance producers integrate social media into their sales process. However, to stand up a solution that really worked, I would need to give up my cushy corporate life and go all in. Okay, I did that. I did go all in. I quit my job. And I'm so excited. Whoops, did I go forward? I'm so excited to announce that we are launching this Boss Social Selling System. It's now available. Okay, so what is it? Let me explain a little bit about this really quickly, and then we'll end this class up. So it's really 3 tiers of education or capabilities you need to learn. Number 1, you got to figure out how to look great. And so we have a whole, I call them a sprint. They're a short-term learning sprint. So they're about a week long. So within a week, you can do what you need to do, the 80-20, right? What's the 20% that's getting you 80% there? I'm not going to make you do everything. I'm going to get you to do the stuff that really matters. Second, you need to be able to create that content and be able to start attracting your ideal clients. So we go step by step through this process. And when I say step by step, I'm acknowledging that you are a digital immigrant. I literally have instructional videos, but then I have walkthrough videos where I will actually say, here's how to push this button, here's how to push this button, and I will take you step by step through the process. Okay? And then finally, we put that together, and then you can generate leads, right? The third week or the third sprint, I call them sprints because they're kind of these focused learning moments, about an hour a day, get them done each in a week. It is how to actually generate leads. So they kind of grow on each other. $500. They're actually worth so much more than that. They're worth so much more than that. When you think about, you pick up a couple new clients, what it's worth. But anyways, here's kind of the main core program here, is these 3 sprints to help you get this stuff done, okay? It includes not just the video training, which is pretty exhaustive, but also step-by-step workbooks, time-saving tools, and technical walkthroughs. Okay, all this stuff is included in it, and it's just so fun to see people have the success that they've been looking for. Now, one of the things that I've learned in doing this is that you get overwhelmed. So instead of just being a complete virtual experience, we actually just launched the class at a certain time, so that way we're all going through it together at the same time. And with that, I provide 2 things: this emails, and also a members-only online community. So basically what you have is incoming emails for me to help you come through this, plus live Q&A training. So in these members-only communities, we actually have live training, so if you have questions, we can do that as a group. So what we've got here is, how do I figure out the pricing on this? It's so difficult to figure this out. It's literally worth so much more than this, but I was trying to get my head around this to say what's the amount that is fair. One thing that I've learned too is if you don't invest in this, you don't take it serious, okay? So one of the things that we've got to do is you've got to put enough into this that you're like, holy crap, I paid for this and I'm going to do it. Because I was actually giving this away, the beta version of this, I was giving it away for free. And guess what happened? Some of the people ran with it, but most of the people, they just weren't invested in it. And but those that did it, it worked out so well for them. And so what we've done here, and I was also building it, so they were kind of giving me feedback. Part of the beta experience was, you get in on this at no cost, but I need your feedback. Well, that's all behind us now, and we're really at launch 2.0 of this experience. So get what you need, help you be successful with it. It's a powerful system. So here's my question for you guys. Okay, we're winding down here. Would this work for you? Okay, you really have two questions. Is this, do I have money to do this? Is a separate question from, will this solve my problem? And I want you in your brain to clearly understand the differences. Like, is this what you need to be successful? Like, do you think this will work? Okay, you don't have to buy this today. You can go out and shop around, right? Now that you know what to do. Okay, there's a few other guys out there that can do this. Or is this the solution that can help you? Some of you, I would just say, you know what, start following me on LinkedIn. Let's get connected over time, right? When you're ready to go, we can be here to help you with this. The other thing is I really wanted to make this affordable, especially because we're just launching this thing and we're all stuck at home with COVID. And so we're doing a startup pricing on this. It's literally $497 for everything. You get all the training, you get all of the email motivations to help you get through all the little parts of it. You get the live Q&A training, you get the membership online community where you can come in and see what other people are doing. I call them bosses, right? We're all bosses. We're bosses of our social media. We're not social media experts, right? Well, you're not a social media expert. Your job is not to be a social media expert. Your job is to be the boss of your social media. Your social media should work as an employee for you that's doing its job 24/7 and doing a good job helping you accomplish what it does well. Okay, and you need to understand what you can get it, how you can employ it. And this is what this all talks about. So, let's wind this down, okay? I hope this has been helpful. My question for you is, if this could do just one of the following, would it be worth it to you, right? If you could get rid of all the anxiety that you have around social stuff, maybe you're not in it to do the whole thing, right? Maybe you're like, Brett, I'm not going to immigrate. I'm just going to, do a weekend pass. Wouldn't it be so cool if you could just optimize your presence on the web? If you only complete week 1, you are going to look great online. When people check you out online, it's going to be a positive moment of truth. That's in and of itself very powerful. And this is really, sadly, the extent to which I was able to do most of the large-scale training when I worked for the carriers. Everything we do in the second sprint and the third sprint are deep diving beyond that. Okay? Number 2, what if you could turn social media into full-time employees? What if you could get them out there attracting your ideal clients? So they get facial recognition. They understand who you are. They think of you when they have a question and they start coming to you. And then finally, if you complete the third sprint, you can actually put all this stuff. I think of it like playing a game. Like, let's say it's basketball, right? To play basketball, you first have to know how to walk. You have to know how to run. That's kind of like week 1 that you put on the jersey. Week 2 is you got to learn how to dribble. You got to learn how to pass. You're going to learn these fundamentals. Week 3, growing your book, right? That's kind of like you finally get to play the game. And so the third week is so powerful and it's so amazing to help you to do all these things. And I'll explain a little bit more about that in detail for some of you guys who really want that. Obviously, you've been watching this and there's a button down below. So if any of you, at any time you're ready to get this, just click that button and grab it. But for some of you, I think you might want to see specifically what we go through all this stuff. So we'll take a couple more minutes doing that and then we'll call it a day. And because this is a studio recording, it's not a live webinar, which you can attend those in the future. They're out there. You can sign up for those. I'm just going to put in some of the Q&As that we've had that have come in pretty regularly. Number 1, payment on it. It's just a one-time credit card payment of $497. Okay, it doesn't renew every year. As far as you don't have to pay for it every year. You get lifetime access to this product. So then the future iterations of this, I actually have a whole bunch of some other stuff. I don't want to get into that, but I have some other really cool stuff that I'm working on right now that will just get added into it. So if you buy it now, you get all that stuff. I mean, things change so much. I would predict that the full life of this product is going to be at least 5 years. So you don't have to keep buying it as it gets better and better. You do need to have some internet and some technology to advance it because you are watching online videos, you're doing online stuff, you got to create your LinkedIn, you got to do some other things online. And then if you just start into it, I mean, by this point you should kind of have a feel for who I am and how I do things. It definitely would get more technical and you have specific homework and you got things you got to do, and I walk you through all that. It's not all up here at this conceptual level. It's the thing about the course is it's practical. It's saying, okay, you got 30 minutes, watch this video, do this stuff, and I just set it up line by line. You have to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. No, I say no nerd power required. Actually, it's not really even a lot of thinking required. You just do exactly what, you have to think to answer the questions, but I'm going to give you very prescriptively the exact recipe. Now, once you learn all that, you can kind of bend the rules a little bit for yourself, but I'm going to give you the exact recipe. Some of you guys want more help and you want one-on-one coaching. And so I have started providing that. and it's a little bit more expensive. It's $24.97, and that gives you coaching with me for, we were doing 6 months. It'll be somewhere between 3 and 6 months. What we do is we do one-on-one, and then we do a group, and they're small groups. Right now, I don't have any spots available for that. If you're thinking down the road, you're like, you know what, get this now, start working on it, and when it opens up again, then you'll be on my email list. I can tell you how to get access to that. So that's something that's available in general. It's just not available right at this second. I would say probably, well, for sure in January we'll be starting up again. I just don't think I'm going to try to squeeze in one more session before the holidays. But there's so much you can do now, and that will be available in the future. More details about the weekly sprints. Oh, we're just getting tired now, aren't we? Okay, let me just finish this off. Some of you would like to have a breakdown of what we do in each of them. So this is what I want to do now. I just want to give you this breakdown. And again, anytime that you're ready to do this, go ahead and just click the button and you can grab it. But the week one is, I look great online. Okay. So what are you going to do? Each lesson is about a 30, 60 minute video training. Well, they're usually about 30 minutes. It gives you another 30 minutes to get the work done. There's a daily worksheet or a tool. There's walkthrough videos to help you how to do it. And I give examples. So this is what we're going to do every day. It might take you more than a week to do that. That's okay. I mean, think about it. Even if it took you 3 months to do this, wow, that would be amazing, right? If it took you a whole month to do week one, you just did one lesson a week. In a month, you could have this solved. That's what's so powerful about it. You can move at whatever pace you want. So this first week, we're going to figure out where you are now. We want you to understand if someone is a prospective buyer for you, maybe they received a referral and they went to check you out on the web. Where do what are they going to see? What does that look like? Is it a positive moment of truth? It's a negative moment of truth. And then we're going to spend some time talking about where you want to be, because we've got to customize this to your level of integration and doing this, okay? And so we'll talk about that. And then we're going to spend 2 days just optimizing your presence. And these are very technical, but I show you how to click. I go through everything. I literally show you pop-up screens, and you get to see it all in action. So it'll be like follow the leader on those. There it is, like follow the leader. And then finally, we're going to do some best practices, especially around calls to action, and I'll show you how to create stronger engagement. So when they do see your stuff, they're more likely to reach out to you and do whatever the action is that you want them to do. And now you can think about what are good calls to action. Okay, then second week really is I attract my ideal clients. So really, we've talked about this at a high level, but I want to get a little more specific. First, we've got to figure out what your superpowers are. What's your unique selling proposition? Okay, what do you bring to the table? And I always think about this like, think of your favorite clients. Why do they love you? Think of your best referral partners. What do they love about you? Right? Sometimes you even have to ask your mother-in-law, who still didn't like you that much, what are your redeeming qualities? Okay, this is beyond product knowledge and beyond carrier solutions and beyond the customer service you give. Like, what is unique about you? You got to understand that. Okay, and then we'll show you how to make sure the web is personifying that. Then you've got to attract your ideal client. And so I actually have a tool to help you figure out who your ideal client is. It's very specific and allows you to look at some really cool stuff to figure out who, if you think about your top favorite 5, 10 clients, who are they? What is unique about them? And how can we reverse engineer that so you can find more people like that? Then we're going to map out their journey. We're going to start creating content to attract them. Going to get that out there. And then we're going to invite them again in a deeper level to take action. Okay? That's what we're going to talk about. And then, like I said, third week is really where we start playing the game of social selling. So with all that stuff in play, you now have the ability to really execute a social selling strategy or execution system. And so in this, I give you a lot of tools. A leads generation tool. I'm going to show you a tool on how to actually generate leads on a systematic, regular basis. Who are your ideal client who want to work with you? That's pretty awesome, right? You're not just shooting all over the place hoping to hit a pigeon. We're pinpointing on who we want. We're getting that stuff out there. The referral generation tool. Okay, I'm going to show you how you can use social media to increase the number of referrals you get from all your existing clients. Okay, it's powerful, it's amazing, and it works so well. Then we're going to get into engagement. Really, days 3 and 4 here, the engagement tool and finding highly engaging content. There's about 5 different activities I'm going to show you how to do to be able to find content and create content that's quick and easy. Doesn't require you to spend a whole day like a marketing person. There are some awesome shortcuts. Okay, amazing shortcuts. Like it just will blow your mind. Okay, it's so fun. I love teaching this because people are like, oh crap, I didn't even know you could do that. Okay, we're going to show you how to get and create amazing content that you can share that continues to engage them at a higher level. Okay, and the right, people say, well, how do I balance my personal and my professional? Like, we cover all that stuff. So that way you're creating an engagement strategy, not a content strategy, throw stuff out there, but an engagement strategy that is going to really showcase what you bring to the table, that you're a qualified guide, and puts this stuff all together. And then the last couple of days, there's actually 6 main lessons in this week. A lot of these, well, there's 6 lessons first week, 5 in the second week, 6 in the third week. Evolving social conversations into sales conversation. We've got to show you how to take, I give you that example of me reaching out to that mentalist on how to be able to connect them on LinkedIn, right? Well, we can start having a social conversation. You know how to sell in real life, but there's some ways you can take that application, and I've put together some things to help you do this online. So, man, I'm having a really good social conversation with this person, and we're building rapport. Now, how do I shift it effectively through the use of technology, messaging, social media, things like that? At what point do you move it to the phone, or do you take it offline? And I'll show you how to do that. And then finally, we've got a weekly planner that will show you how to put all this stuff together. So every week, you just put together your plan, and when it dings on your calendar, you go at it, you know exactly what to do to effectively accomplish your goal, okay? Oh, it's so awesome. It's so fun. So excited. I'm so glad. I don't want to get into my personal life, but I read a book a few years ago called The Untethered Soul. It's this guy named Michael Singer. He's really kind of like a yoga guy down in Florida. But it had an effect on me that allowed me to wake up and say, Brett, what really matters most? I think Tony Robbins calls it your rocking chair moments. When you're at the end of your life and you're looking back on your life, is this something you'll be like, I'm so glad I did it? And for so many years, I have wanted to be able to help producers at a significant level beyond what I could do, just as kind of like I call it icing on the cake for the carrier. And this is that solution. And I'm doing it, and I'm so excited to see the success you guys are having as you're moving this forward. So if this sounds right for you at this point, please, I encourage you to check this out and move forward with this. And like I always say, if not now, then when, okay? It doesn't cost you anything to connect with me, and you can start creating some of the content that I share. But at the same time, beyond connect with me on LinkedIn and following the Boss Social stuff, you might go to the Boss Social business page on Facebook and LinkedIn and follow them. There's going to be a point where you realize, you know what? If I don't get this stuff figured out, it's like the train has left the station, and you got to figure this out. And so my last question for you today is, if not now, then when? Okay? The faster you can get ahead of this curve, the faster you can learn to use this tool to do what you already know how to do, and it's the right plan and the right path, then very, very exciting stuff. So just sum this up: how to correctly integrate social media into your sales process, get the right map, get the right guidance, and be the salesperson you already are. That's my final thing for you guys. I hope this has been helpful for you. And in the live version, we normally have chats and we can talk more about this. But I would say good luck. So do it. Look forward to seeing you guys on the inside. Have a great day.